Given the current challenges, what does Bethlehem University represent for the Institute, for the Church, and for society?
Lasallian education is all about salvation. Salvation in this world and in the next. During these difficult times in the Holy Land, salvation is part of what we need to be about. In these difficult times in the Holy Land, the University of Bethlehem stands as a beacon to remind us all, ourselves in the Institute, the Church, and the world, that salvation is possible and that education is indeed the path to salvation. The Church speaks about peace. The Church speaks about justice and human rights. The Institute speaks about peace, justice, and human rights. Education is about justice, peace, and human rights. In the Holy Land these days, it's always been difficult, but it is more intensely difficult since October. Consequently, it's really important that the mission of the Church and of the Institute and of Bethlehem University also intensify and be strengthened and be remembered. It is a vital time. It is a crucial time in the Holy Land these days. The university stands with the people in solidarity for justice and human rights and human dignity for all people in the Holy Land.
Brother, what motivates you to continue in your educational mission?
I've been encouraged to continue in this educational mission here at Bethlehem University for a number of reasons. I was very fortunate to have been able to serve at the university from 2003 to 2013 for 10 years. To be able to serve at this university, which is just meters away from the birthplace of Jesus. And on a spiritual level, on a personal, prayerful level, it's still amazing to be living there in that place. I returned home to stay with my mom and dad because my mom was ill, and I wanted to help my dad to care for my mom in 2013. She's now gone to heaven, and I am personally free to return, and I am delighted to return to Bethlehem University at this time, and especially at this time when it is incredibly, intensely stressful. I knew it when it was stressful 10 years ago. I know it to be incredibly more stressful now. The intensity of human rights violations, the intensity of injustice, the real fear of violence and death is palpable in the university and its surroundings. However, it is at that time that we, the Church, we, the Institute, the brothers, the Lasallians, all people of goodwill, need to be in solidarity. The people there need us to be in solidarity, and we're graced to be able to respond. I feel from the bottom of my heart that I joined the brothers to be a person committed to education as a means to salvation. Salvation here on this earth, and healing on this earth, and salvation, healing in the afterlife with God. So this is, there's no other way to do it other than to be back at Bethlehem, and I'm grateful for that opportunity.
Would you like to share with us an important experience that you have lived among the young people of Bethlehem University that can help us to believe that peace is possible?
A few years ago, we had a young man who was had a heart problem and needed to get to the hospital. He applied for a permit because you can't get out of Bethlehem into Jerusalem to the hospital without applying for a permit to the Israeli military officials. He applied for a permit, and it was denied, and was denied. He kept on applying. His family and he knew that it was important for him to get to the special hospital in Jerusalem. Of course, there's hospitals in Bethlehem, but this was a special procedure that needed to be done for his heart. He was finally granted the permission. Unfortunately, he died at the checkpoint in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. A tragic moment, something that could have been avoided, something that could have been something that was not necessary to happen. The university community, his fellow students, the faculty, responded in a way that really demonstrated their commitment to him as a human being and to peace and justice. They could have thrown stones or protested or done all sorts of things, burned tires in the road, what you see on TV sometimes. But they didn't. They gathered back on campus with his family in a vigil of prayer. He was scheduled to graduate not that year, but the following year. And at that graduation, his family was welcomed onto the platform to receive his diploma. The whole audience, of course, stood and applauded and welcomed them in his honor. It's a small sign, perhaps, of how people who are oppressed and are whose human rights are restricted can still be people of dignity, and indeed, that's the dignity that I see each and every day at the university. Amazing young people, amazing faculty who are committed to their mission of education so that their students, our graduates, can serve the common good in a more just and fair way. There's not vengeance, there's not grudges, there's really commitment to finding a better way to move forward. Just one other thing about solidarity and about the importance of believing and knowing that peace is possible. A few years back, during a really difficult time of the Israeli military invasion into the West Bank, into Bethlehem, the university was closed. Israeli military soldiers came on campus and took over the campus. The brothers community, the 12 brothers who were there at the time, is right there on campus. The consulates for each of the countries, from the United States, from England, from Ireland, who were there at the time, the consulates all came to the brother's house and invited each brother to be escorted out of Bethlehem and to go back home for their own safety. And to a person, each of those brothers said, no, I'm staying here. I'm supposed to be here. If I leave now, my mission and my credibility would be zero. So they decided as a group to stay. It's a great, I was not one of them, but I knew of this. It touched my heart deeply, as you might be able to see in my voice. But it's another real example of what commitment to education for salvation really is. It's a commitment, and we are graced by that.
Where does hope come from?
During these days of intense occupation and restrictions related to the war in Gaza, the war in Gaza is happening unbelievably so, continuing to happen 10 plus months now. But also in the West Bank, in the Bethlehem area, there's also increased violence. A lot of settlers are coming out from their communities that are in the West Bank and attacking people or harassing people in the villages around us. The United Nations reports come out every 2 weeks about humanitarian aid in the West Bank, the humanitarian situation. 3 weeks ago, that report included a story about 2 young children in a village on the outskirts of Bethlehem in our neighborhood. Those children were handcuffed. Their legs were broken, and they were urinated on, as reported by the United Nations, by Israeli settlers. It's quite disturbing. It's quite disturbing to think about what happens to those two children, their future, their healing, the trauma that they experience. And we talk about hope in that context. We talk about hope for a better future, knowing that the reality is so brutal on a day-to-day level for regular people. But we do talk about hope because that is the foundation of who we are as Christians. That's the foundation of who we are as people of God. It was in that very town where Bethlehem University is 600 meters from the university, where Jesus Christ was born of Mary, where the King of Peace, the Prince of Peace, came to earth to be one of us, to show us how to live, and to call us back to God. That is the hope that we keep alive today. It's not just what we do at Christmas, and not just what we do at Sunday at Mass. It's what we do each and every day. And as for us Lasallian brothers, education is that means of salvation. Education is that the way we bring hope alive and keep it alive. We are incredibly blessed at Bethlehem University with a generous network of friends around the globe who not only support us financially, which is incredibly helpful and needed, but they support us spiritually. They contact us, tell us about what they're doing, holding us in prayer. We share that with our students and our faculty. It is very important. It is so meaningful. And we are incredibly blessed and grateful for that. That's where hope comes from people pooling their resources together, their prayers, their understanding, and their finances to express solidarity, which brings hope to us each and every day.